So now we're still doing 2.6, graphing basic functions. So this is called graphing piecewise functions. So if I look here, it's the word piece. So here's a piece of paper, and I'm cutting it and breaking it up and ripping it into pieces. Okay, see? Pieces. So these types of functions are like pieces of functions all stuck together. So we call it piecewise functions. Okay? So here I can see there's 3 different functions, and they're just pieces and they stick together. So let's look at a good example here. So this whole thing is a function, but I can sort of see this as an equation, an equation, an equation. Okay? So first what I do is I graph the first one, the blue one. And I go, oh, that's a line. Okay? But this tells us what part to keep. Okay, so you have to actually know these really well, these signs. Let's do an example. Do I have a piece of paper? Let's do some examples first. So if I go x, this is 5, and 10, let's do 8. X. Okay, so we always read it from the letter to the number. Here's the letter, here's the number. I read it this way. So here, when I read it from the letter to the number, I'm going to touch the big side first. So this says x is bigger than 5. Here's the letter, here's the number, so I'm going to read it this way. I touch the big side first of the sign, so it says big. X is bigger than 10. Here's my letter, here's my number. I'm going to read it this way. Because I read it this way, I'm going to touch the small part of the sign, so it says x is smaller than 11. Here, I always read from letter to number. X is, I'm touching this side first, smaller than 8. So let's do another one. I read it from the letter to the number. So x is, and I'm touching the big side, so x is bigger than 10. If I read it this way, I read it from the letter to the number. X is, this is the small side, x is smaller than 8. So if I have 15, I'm going to read it from the letter to the number. X is, I see the big side first, x is bigger than 15. And if I read it from the letter to the number, and I touch the small side first, so x is smaller than 2. Okay, so you have to know how to read these signs. So if I graph the blue thing, I know this is a line because it just has x to the power of 1. Okay, so here's my line, but it says use your scissors, mikos, and cut off everything. I only want to keep everything that is smaller than -1, because this says, I read it from the letter to the number, x is smaller than or equal to -1. So here's -1, I'm going to cut that, and I'm just going to take this piece and put it down here. I don't want this part, because it says keep everything that's smaller than -1. So now I graph this one, which is a straight horizontal line, and it says please only keep, I'm going to write it bigger. So I have to read it this way first. X is bigger than -1. So here's my -1, everything bigger than -1. Now I read it from here. X, because you go from letter to number. X is smaller than or equal to 1. So I'm only going to keep everything that's between -1 and 1. So I'm going to only keep this part. So I take that part and put it here. Now the last one has a squared, so I know it's a parabola. Okay, I graph it. And it says only keep, I'll write it up here so it's bigger. Go from the letter to the number. Only keep everything that's bigger than or equal to 1. Okay, so I put a line here. I cut this part off. I only take the stuff that's bigger than or equal to 1, and I put it here. And then I squish it together. There. So you see I have one part from here, a piece from here, and a piece from here. That's why it's called a piecewise function. Okay? So it's really like 3 questions squished into 1 question. Okay? So now, let's do some examples. Okay. Let's look. So, graph each function. So I'm going to do the blue one first. Because this just has an x to the 1, you don't have to write the 1. I know it's going to be a straight line. So in my head I go, okay, it's a straight line. Okay, oops, just wait. I want to write something first. We're going to do the blue one. So I'm going to take the blue one and I'm going to make it into like an equation. I'm just putting a y equals to that. Now, I'm just going, no, I don't want a table of values. If it's a line, this is already in slope y-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. This is my slope. This is my y-intercept. Okay? So here, that's my y-intercept, and that's my slope. So my slope is -2, but I need it as a fraction, so I put it over 1. Okay, so I can graph it. So step 1, I put a point on the y-axis at -1. There. Then my slope. Let's see, slope. The number on the top is either up and down. The number on the bottom is left and right. So this one says go down 2 and right 1. So down 2 and right 1. Down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1. There. And now I just connect the dots. Okay. But it says please only keep. That says smaller. When x is smaller than 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to do it so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to put this pink line at 2. Okay? It says only keep everything that's less than 2. That means I have to erase this part. It means we don't want it. Okay? Now let's do the red equation. Y equals -x plus 4. Oh, this is in slope-intercept form too. So my y-intercept is 4. My slope, oh, there's no number here. Ah, it's okay. If there's no number, there's really a 1 hiding. So my slope is -1, but it's not a fraction. So let's make it a fraction, put it over 1. So step 1, we do our y-intercept. Step 2, we do our slope. So that means put a point at 4 on the y-intercept. There. Now it says the top is up and down, so it says go down 1 and right 1. So starting at 4, go down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1. Down 1. There, I got lots of them there. Now I'm going to make my line. Okay. Now it says, please only keep everything where x is bigger than 2. So here's my 2. It says keep only the stuff that's bigger than 2. That means I don't want this side of this line. There. So for the red line, I'm only keeping this part. So I'm keeping this. And then for the blue one, I'm keeping this part. Okay? But we're not done. We have to do open and closed circles. Oops, open, closed. Okay? So at the end points here, So because this says equal sign, we know that's going to be a closed dot for the blue one. When it's got an equal sign, it's a closed dot. And because there's no equal sign, it says it cannot be equal to 2. It has to be bigger than 2. It's going to be an open circle there. So you can see my function exists, it consists of 2 lines, well, pieces of lines stuck together. Okay? So we sort of did 2 questions and put them together. Okay, let's look at the next one. Well, this one has 3. Okay, so let's do the first one. Y equals -4. Oh, if I want to graph this, I get kind of confused, so I like to do it an easy way. Let's make a table of values. This says y is always -4. Okay. It says no matter what you put in for x, y is -4. Okay. Now I can pick anything I want for x. Okay, -8, -5, 0, and let's say 4. Doesn't matter what x is. Y is always -4. So now if it's -8, it's -4. If it's -5, it's -4. Oh, it's a straight line, but horizontal. Okay? So, let's make my straight line. Like that. But now I have to say, it says please only keep, remember read it from the letter to the number, everything that's smaller than or equal to -2. So I'm going to put a line, here's -2. It says keep only the stuff that's smaller than -2. That means I don't want this, because it's bigger. There. So that's my blue one. It says only have that. Okay, next. Y equals x minus 2. Ah, this is in slope y-intercept form. This is my intercept, my y-intercept. And this is my slope. Oh, but there's no number there. It's okay, it's really a 1. So my slope is 1. But it needs to be a fraction, so I need to put it over 1. So this means, because it's positive, it means go up 1 and go right 1. So this is step 1, step 2. So step 1, put a point on the y-axis at -2. Now stay here, and now it says go up 1, right 1. Doot, 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 doot. Like that. So that's enough points. Now I can make my line. There. But it says, let's write this bigger. So let's read it from the letter to the number. Keep everything where x is bigger than -2. Okay, so everything that's, here's -2, it's bigger. And then keep everything where x is smaller than 2. Okay, so I'm going to put another line at +2. Okay, so it wants to keep everything here that's between -2 and 2. Okay, so let's just keep this part and erase this part and erase this part of the line. So we have this part here. Now let's do the green one. Y equals -2x plus 4. Well, that's my slope, my y-intercept, and that's my slope. So that's step 1. My slope is -2, but that's not a fraction, so I just put it over 1. Okay, so step 1, it says please put a point at +4. Now stay there. -2 means go down, this means go right. So I stay here and I go down to right 1, down to right 1, down to right 1, down to right 1. That's enough points to make a nice line. Okay. Now it says, let's read it from the letter to the number. Keep only the part where the x's are bigger than or equal to 2. So here's my 2, that's -2. So it says keep everything that's bigger than 2. So for the green, I'm going to keep this. Only this part. So I have to erase that part. Okay. There. So now this function looks like this. But we have to do my open and closed circles. Okay? So here, let's check. At -2, this is going to be closed. But then here at -2, this is going to be open. So how do I put a blue closed and a red open at the same spot? You can't. You physically can't draw an open and a closed circle. So we just leave it. We just go like this. If someone wants to find more information, they can look here. Okay. Now let's look at 2. This is open, but this is closed. So at this point here, we have an open circle and a closed circle. We can't draw both. So again, we just leave it. So when it looks like that, it means there's closed circles there and open. We just, or at least there's a closed circle here. Okay, we just physically can't draw both. So you just leave it. Okay? It's really important when you have a broken line where you have a jump. See here we have a jump. That was really important. Here, if they need more information, they can look at this. Okay, let's look at the next one. Number 3. So let's do the blue one. Y equals x plus 5. Oh, this is in slope y-intercept form. That's my y-intercept. That's my slope. But there is no number, but there's really a 1 hiding here. So my slope is 1, but that's not a fraction. So let's make it a fraction. That means positive up, positive right. So step 1, step 2. Put a point at 5 on the y-axis. Now stay there. Now it says go up 1, right 1. Up 1, right 1. Up 1, right 1. Up 1, right 1. There. That's enough points. Now I can draw my nice line. Okay. Now it says at -2, I have something happening at -2, so I'm going to put a line. You don't have to draw this line. This is just for me to show you. Letter to number. Read it this way. So it's small. X has to be smaller than -2. So it says keep everything that's smaller than -2. So that means I erase this side. And it's blue, so let me color it blue. There. Okay. Next one. Ooh, I have a squared. If you see that your biggest exponent is a square, parabola. Okay, happy face. Which means I can't do slope and y-intercept because that's just for straight lines. So let's do a table of values. Oh boy, if I put numbers in here, they're going to be really big because I have to square it, then make it bigger, then make it bigger. So I'm just going to do lots of numbers and see which ones fit on the graph. Okay, so can we see? We'll move this up. So I'm going to write this down here. Y equals x squared plus 2x plus 3. So I put brackets square, 2 times whatever. So first I'm going to put a -3 in here. -3 squared is 9. 2 times -3 is -6 plus 3. That's 12 minus 6, that's 6. Now I'm going to put a -2 in. -2, -2. So -2 squared is 4. This is -4 plus 3. So that cancels out and I'm left with 3. Now I'm going to put a -1 in. -1, -1. -1 squared is 1. 2 times -1 is -2 plus 3. Well, that's 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. Okay. Now I put a 0 in. Oh, I love zeros. 0 squared, 0. 0 times this, 0. So it's only 3 left. Now I'm going to put a 1 in. Positive 1. 1 squared is 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 3. That's 6. Oops. That should be here. 2 and a 3. So let's put 2 in. So 2 squared is 4. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 3. That's 8, 9, 10, 11. Well, if I use 3, it's going to get really big because 11 is already off the graph, so I'm not going to do 3. Okay? So now let's plot these points, and remember it's a parabola, so we have to sort of plot the point and then make it look like a parabola. Use our imagination to sort of make it look like that. So -3, positive 6. -2, 3. -1, 2. 0, 3. 1, 6. 2, 11, which is like up here-ish. So look, I can see my parabola. There. But remember, it's not a V, it's more of a U shape, so this should be sort of rounded at the bottom. So now let's read it. Letter to number. Touch the big side first. Keep all the stuff where x is bigger than -2. So here's my -2 line. I have to keep the stuff that's bigger than -2, which means I erase that. And I'm going to keep this part. Okay. But we're not done because we have to do open and closed circles. We have to check this. No equal sign, open. Equal sign, closed. So we have a closed and an open here, so we just leave it. Okay? And that's it. That's what our graph looks like. Let's go to the next page. All right. Next page. So because these just have x to the 1, and the 1 doesn't show, we know that these are lines. They're straight lines. So let's do the first one. Y equals -2x plus 1. So that's my y-intercept, and that's my slope. My slope is -2, but I need to make it a fraction, so I go 2 over 1. So step 1, step 2. So it says, please put a point at +1, and this negative means go down 2, and positive means right. So start here, start at your point, and go down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. There, that's enough. How many dots do you draw? Enough to make a straight line. I'm not so good at making straight lines, so I like to do lots of points. There. So now it says, look at 2. So I'm going to, you don't have to do this. You can just use your eyes. Think of 2. That's 2. So it says, read it from the letter to the number, small. X has to be smaller than or equal to 2. So it says for this line, keep everything that's smaller than or equal to 2. So keep this side. That means I have to get rid of this side. Now let's do my next line. This just has a 1, so I know that this is a straight line. That's my y-intercept, and that's my slope. So my slope is 5, but I need to make it a fraction. 5 is positive, so it means up. 1 is positive, so it means right. So step 1, step 2. So it says, please put a point at -4 on the y-axis. Okay. Now go up 5 and over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1. There. Okay. That's not too many points, but it's good. It's I want one more point. So I want to show you something. So remember I said before, if my slope was like this, and I need more space, because really I want one more point. I want some more points down here to help me make a straight line. I can just go, I can change this negative and move it to the bottom. And then keep drawing. That would be down 1, right 2. Well here, if I did up 1, left 2, it's the same thing. Okay? So here, I don't have any negatives. So if I have 5 over 1, really what we're doing is we're taking this negative and we're changing it to the opposite. We're taking this positive, we're changing it to the opposite. So here I have positive 5. What's the opposite of positive 5? Negative 5. What's the opposite of positive 1? Negative 1. So if I want more points, I just change everything to the opposite. So here, negative 5, negative 1. So that means down 5, right 1. So I'm going to start at this point again, negative 4, there. And now I'm going to go, see, here's my points. Okay, now I'm going to go, no, that's not my point. This way, this is the point. So now I'm going to go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and left 1. That gives me one extra point to make it a little straighter. There. There we go. So now, oh, just wait, blue. I'm just going to do this one in blue first, so I don't get confused. Okay. So now it says keep letter to number, so that's the big side. Keep everything that's bigger than 2. So here's 2. I need to keep this side, which is just this part up here. So I have to erase all of this part of the line. There. And see how these are not together? So it's going to be really important to do my open and closed circles. Okay? The end points. So blue. Because there's an equal sign, it's going to be closed. So blue has a closed circle. Now this does not have an equal sign, so this is going to be an open circle. So this one is open. There, like that. Okay. Last one. Okay, so now I see squared. That means I'm going to think parabolas. This one's squared too. Okay, so they're both parabolas, which means I'm just going to do a table of values for each one. So the first one, y equals x squared. And because I'm just squaring stuff, I can just pick nice numbers. Easy, simple. Okay, so whatever this number goes in here, it's just going to square it. So what's negative 2 squared? 4. What's negative 1 squared? 1. 0 squared? 0. 1 squared? 1. 2 squared? 4. So let's graph this. Negative 2, 4. Okay, so and it's a parabola, so I'm going to pretend to just make it into a parabola because we know the shape. Now it says 0. Okay, so I'm going to put my line at 0. Something's happening at 0. 0. So read it from the letter to the number. And I'm going to touch the small side first. So keep everything where x is less than 0. Okay. Here's 0, so I have to keep all the stuff that's less than 0. So I don't keep that. And this one's blue, so I'm going to color this one blue. You don't have to color them pretty colors. You don't even have to color them. I'm just doing it to help you see. Okay, so let's do the second one. Let's do a table of values. Okay, now because this has plus 4, I know it's going to make some bigger numbers, but I don't know if they're going to be too big for my graph. So I'm just going to do the same numbers, but I'm going to do maybe a 3. Okay, and that's only because it's like insurance. We buy it just in case. We do it just in case. Okay, So I'm going to do it up here. So y equals negative, oops, y equals negative x squared plus 4. So negative, so this number's got to go here instead of the x. So negative 3 squared, that's 9, positive 9. Let's just put it in a calculator. Can you see my calculator? So be careful. Negative 3 squared. See how I used my negative on the outside, and then I have brackets, and my negative 3 is on the inside. So that's negative 5. Now we're going to change, just go back in your calculator, and go 2, 0. And then go back, and go 1. This is so much faster. Back. Now I'm going to go 0, 4. Now I'm going to go back. 1. Nice. I love calculators. I mean for math, not for, you know, life. 0. Imagine when they didn't have calculators. Oh, it takes so long. Okay, so now let's graph this. Oh, all the numbers were nice. They all fit on the graph. I was thinking maybe they might not. So negative 3, negative 5. Negative 2, 0, negative 1, 3, this looks weird, 0, 4, 1, 3, 2, 0, oh, it's upside down, 3, negative 5, so you can see that it's a parabola, but it's upside down. Do you know why it's upside down? See this negative? When there's a negative in front of this, it means eglub. Make it upside down. Okay, so now we have to read it, and it says letter to number. We read it this way, and we're going to touch the bigger side first. X has to be bigger than 0. So take everything where it's bigger than 0. So here's my 0. So I'm only going to keep this side. That means I have to erase this side. There. Am I done? Nope. I have to do my open and closed things. So this has an equal sign, so it's closed. This has no equal sign, so it's open. And it's really important to put them here because they're not together. So blue is closed and pink is open. There. Okay. So now I just want to show you one little thing here. Let's look at, I want to look at example 2, okay? Because in your homework you're going to have some examples that you have to do. So it'll say find the value if f is negative 8. Okay. So if I look on this graph, that means when x is negative 8. So here's x, negative 8. It's the blue function. So if I go down, it's negative 4. Okay? So you can see we have to use the blue function for negative 8 because x, whenever x is less than or equal to negative 2, we have to use the blue function. What happens if I say f of 0? Well, 0 here, here's x is 0. 0 is using the pink function here. So then if I look at the pink function, f of 0 is negative 2. I can put 0 in here. What's 0 minus 2? Minus 2. Because it says whenever x is between minus 2 and 2, use this function. Now if I say what happens if x is, I don't know, 6. Well, here's 6, x is 6. That means I'm in the green side, the green function, the green part of the function. If I go down, 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 it's negative 8. So here it says whenever x is bigger than or equal to 2, use the green function. So if I put a 6 in here, negative 2 times 6, that's negative 12. Negative 12 plus 4, that's negative 8. But then we have problems right here on these lines. What happens if f is negative 2 or f is 2? That's on these pink lines. Okay, let's check. So if it's negative 2, maybe it's blue or pink. Blue or pink. Let's erase all this. You have to look for the one that says equal. Okay, so if I want to be able to do negative 2, I'm going to use this one because it says when x is less than or equal to 2. Here, sorry, negative 2. So here this says x has to be bigger than negative 2. It can't be equal to negative 2. So on the boundary right here, you have to use the blue one. Okay, so here it says when x is negative 2, use the blue one. So the answer is negative 4. What about 2, the boundary of 2? Okay, 2. Here's 2 and here's 2. Well, the equal sign is with the green one. So if I have x equal to 2, I have to use this function. So I would go, okay, I could put the 2 into here. Or I can look on my graph and go, oh, it's 0. So if I put a 2 into here, negative 2x plus 4, and put my 2 here, that's a plus. That's negative 4 plus 4 equals 0. Okay? So you have to look here or look here to say, okay, if they give me an x value, how do I find my y value? You can look at your graph to see which part of the function you're going to use, or you can look at the conditions to find out which part of the function you're going to use. Okay? That's it.